Hello, Dr. Lopez here with the highlights regarding the feedback you provided in the midterm survey. First of all, I wanted to thank each and every one of you who took the time to complete the midterm survey. If you remember from our textbook, the authors cite Cronbach and also Scriven, Tyler, and Gagne when they indicate that formative evaluation is the collection of data and information during the development of instruction that can be used to improve its effectiveness. And in our case, we're collecting data during the implementation of instruction. So the item that stood up for me in terms of feedback was about my feedback. And I kind of wanted to share with you the process that I've been through as I have been refining the type of feedback that I provide to my students. So in the beginning, long before you guys came along, I wasn't providing much feedback, let alone positive feedback. And this bothered me because obviously, I'm sure students thought that I only focused on the negative things and not so much on the positive things. So I figured I had to do something about it. And I started writing feedback to include also positive feedback, but the process was really very inefficient. And then I tried copying and pasting feedback from other students. So I wrote something to a student that applied to another student, so I decided I would copy and paste it and customize it. But then, as you can imagine, working in Excel when you have to input a lot of text into one cell, it's really a clumsy process where you have to go back and forth, and if the cells are not sized properly, you don't get to see the whole thing. It's a mess trying to work with text in Excel. And so the process was still inefficient. So I figured I came up with a system to select feedback from a list of options in Excel. That made it a lot more efficient in that I could write both positive feedback and constructive feedback when it was necessary. And I felt like I was commending students more often for the work that they did that was correct and appropriate and great and fabulous and all that. Then I started thinking, well, there's got to be a way to improve feedback, because if I tell you you're not meeting the requirements, I wasn't telling you, well, and if you go to the book, remember that the book says so, this and that, and this is why your work does not quite meet the requirements. Then after that, I started thinking that I needed to be a little bit more specific, and that was right about the time that the midterm survey came, and you indicated that the feedback felt it was too generic and it wasn't specific enough to tell you exactly where you needed more assistance. This is where we are right now, and beginning in actually the last assignment, I had already kind of started thinking about these things and started incorporating not only the feedback that I can select from, which is the generic feedback that will contain all the details about how to improve, but then also I add specific details on which particular item from all the ones you entered. So for example, when you have a list of objectives, which particular objectives are the ones in need of improvement. So as you see, it's been quite a process for me to go from barely providing any feedback, and it was mostly not because I was lazy, but mostly because of being overwhelmed, feeling that I need to finish this up quickly so that I get the work back to you guys so that you can use it for the next iteration of assignments. So feeling kind of like against the clock, and knowing that if I start writing a lot of specific information to each student, it would take longer. And so those kinds of things are what was going through my mind as I was struggling with all these little details about providing useful feedback for you guys. So as you see, for me, it's been a long road to providing perfect feedback. I'm not there yet, but I do want you guys to remember that I have your best interest in mind, and so I will keep on improving on this as much as I can to make it both an efficient and effective process for me as an instructor, but also constructive and useful enough for you as students who need to learn how to improve the work that you do. So thank you so much for sharing your midterm survey feedback with me, and I'm looking forward to the last few weeks of the course.